Hello, y'all. Welcome to this international edition of the football. We've got episode 6 here. We've got plenty of company here, and this time, not Camilo's studio setup, which is, of course, fantastic, but we're at one of my houses, I guess you could say. But predominantly, this is pretty much well done, renovated. Very white, as you can see, with the ceiling, the walls, the cabinets, all the fixtures and stuff. But that makes for a very good lot of a nice flow and entrance of light with all the windows and stuff. So we've got a nice little background setting, both dogs with us. We've got the little one here chilling that you probably saw maybe pop up 5 seconds into this, so she'll probably come up a little bit later for the sake of not moving the camera screen. But without further ado, it's Jared Johnston, Camilo Yepes, of course, with this 6th episode of the Goal Hour. International footy has been back, and it's been fantastic to see. We got a couple different things we're going to dive into, but of course, everyone wants to talk about the Euros, and we do too. So
We're
let's
going to
get right
talk
into it.
about we're going to talk about the Copa America later, and maybe we'll probably touch on the Nations League, and maybe we'll talk about our predictions for the Gold Cup. Maybe
Potentially.
Maybe we'll put the Gold Cup stuff with Copa America. We'll see.
Yeah, that will probably be in the future episode, but one thing's for sure right now, looking at the Euros, we had predictions. We're going to take a look at the beginning of the tournament, how those predictions panned out, and then look at the round of 16, and then look at our predictions from what's actually here in the present day and what's currently happening. So without further ado, like I just said,
Let's start with our Group A predictions.
Group A. I'll start with myself. I had Italy winning because Italy's actually my pick to win the Euros. So this next one, failed catastrophically, though. I had Turkey in second, finishing with 3 losses in the tournament. Switzerland in third, which I had correct, and Wales in fourth.
The thing is, I wanted Wales to clutch. I said Italy in first, Turkey in second, same as you. Now I said Wales are going to clutch this. Wales aren't going to fail. They're going to do so good, which they did. But they didn't get third, which is what I predicted. And then for fourth, I predicted Switzerland, which I think I really underestimated them. I didn't know much about their roster. I did watch them against the U.S., and I said, this is a good team. Not the U.S., the best team ever, but I said, this is a very good team, the Swiss team. So I don't know why I put them in fourth. I think I was just really hoping Wales would win. And I just predicted Turkey would do good because they have...
Objectively, they were probably the second best team when you think of all the individual talent they had.
Yeah, I think Wales are just my prediction for Wales, or why Wales did so good, is they're a tight knit group. I'm assuming, and they're better. They're much better together. Mm-hmm. Maybe strategies with the coaches. I don't know the coaching staff.
They got to the semis in 2016, so
there you go.
Looks like they definitely have that culture again.
Yeah,
but with that, Wales doing bits, getting to that second place. Obviously, Italy first, Wales second, Switzerland third, Turkey fourth for Group A. But
Turkey got no points.
Yeah, actually. it was awful to see. But moving forward to Group B, Camilo, I got that all right. What did you have?
You had everything right.
Yeah, I had Belgium, Denmark, Finland, and then Russia.
Well, I got Belgium, Denmark, Russia, then Finland. The thing with Russia is I'm quoting this from Zealand because Zealand said this as well. Famous YouTuber Zealand,
noted Tampa, Florida man.
He said, Russia, they're gonna have they're gonna have taken steroids. They're not banned from this, so they're gonna be super energetic. They're gonna be aggressive, and they're riding off that high from their run in the World Cup. So yeah, I think he had a fair point, and that's why I put them in third. I didn't expect Finland to do as well as they did. I think Finland did marvelous for their first ever competition. Very proud of them, even though I'm not Finnish.
Yeah. No, when I looked at Finland, I thought they were better than Russia because they've kind of taken a bit of a downturn. They still have some of their World Cup talent, like Fernandez, Golovin, and Juba, of course, who was tremendous up front. But they lost their goaltender, Akinfeev, who kind of saved them with penalties and then other things as well. So I just thought, Finland with Radecki and Pukki I thought maybe they could pull off something. And then, of course, their neighbors in Denmark, probably the better team besides Belgium out of those three. So that was my rationale for it. And obviously, Denmark slipping through in the end, that was probably one of the greater stories and talking pieces to think about, not just on this final deadline match day where there were essentially three teams in contention for either trying to clinch second and third in general, as Denmark had 4 points, Finland had 4 points, I want to say, as well. Um,
Three.
Yeah, 3 points.
Both
And then Russia with one. So, but of course, Denmark, the huge storyline of the tournament was Christian Eriksen. People say collapsing, but we were watching the game and he literally died for 5 minutes on the field. Like, they were performing CPR and essentially pushing his chest in to try to push blood into his body because the heart stopped working because the muscles were not working at all. So he had cardiac arrest and he was dead at that point. Because if they stopped doing that, he would have died because there was no blood flow in his body.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that was really tough to look
Luckily, he's okay. Very fortunate. He's okay. And good for Denmark. They lost their star man, not due to like something very sad, and they pushed through mentally as well. So I congratulate them with that. They did very well.
Yeah.
Now should we move to Group C?
Yeah, Group C, this was a very interesting group because it's probably arguably one of the easiest groups.
Yeah, I got it all right. Yeah, I got everything correct.
Well, you got it right. I was saying as far as like skill-wise for the Netherlands because we knew they were getting first. I tried to go for like different picks. I guess it was more favoritism on my end because obviously Ukraine has Zinchenko and my favorite player on their team, Ruslan Malinovsky, who plays for Atalanta. Malibumsky won Serie A MVP in May with 5 assists and a goal. But, yeah, obviously Ukraine still gets through in third place. Austria, typical because that's kind of what you expected. I went for a little bit of a sleeper and flip-flopping them. So, of course, with that, those were my picks, getting 2 out of 4 with Netherlands in first, Ukraine in second, Austria in third, and Goran Pandev and North Macedonia in fourth.
And good job for North Macedonia. They did well for this competition. They faced the Netherlands and Austria and Ukraine, all three pretty big teams. Not pretty big, but not bad teams. So congratulations to them for making it through. I'd say that my prediction was all correct, and I also predicted that Ukraine would clinch that third place spot, one of the third place spots, and they did. So, not surprised.
Yeah, they were definitely a reputable side. They're playing Malinovsky and Zinchenko in the midfield, which is an interesting look, but it definitely helps them. Like as far as midfield on the flanks, I mean, Malinovsky can play anywhere, but Zinchenko is obviously a left back for City. But North Macedonia, again, big ups to them to be able to get something out of this competition. It's great for their nation. Goran Pandev, a former Inter Milan player.
Former Champions League one.
Yeah, who is now North Macedonia's youngest ever goal scorer in European competition at 38 years old. Also the only goal scorer in the European Championships.
For Northern Macedonia.
And in this tournament, of course, notching, I believe, only 2 goals.
I think so, yeah.
So, I mean, great for him, great for the side, great to have that lasting impact. But, talking about an impact, I guess, that's been fading ever more. It's Croatia in Group D. Obviously, they still clinch, but...
They got second.
Yeah, it's weird to look at.
I predicted that, as well as England getting first. I did swap my Scotland and Czech Republic ones. It was incorrect.
Yeah, those were the exact same picks I had. So, with that, it was England in first, Croatia in second, Scotland in third, and Czech Republic in fourth. Czech Republic getting that third place spot, had 4 points. Yeah, for those of you that are listening, that is the dog. But for those of you that are watching, yes, you've seen her before. But
What were you saying?
Talking about Czech Republic.
Oh yeah, they should be
They
proud.
were underrated, in my opinion, because not just Thomas Suchek and Kofals that play for West Ham. Patrick Schick has been one of the storylines of the tournament up top, really carrying that side. But I thought, I don't know why I put them in fourth, because I do have confidence in them. I just thought that Scotland would have a bit more, because they do have McSauce, Scott McTominay, Robertson, Tierney, Che Adams obviously slotting in for that side.
They have good players. I think it was just a very unfortunate tournament for
I
them.
mean, when you saw them draw against England, it was fantastic.
Yeah, they weren't bad. They just weren't the best in the group.
But maybe one of the killers, of course, was Billy Gilmore being sidelined the positive test for COVID-19
Yeah.
for that final game against Croatia. So with that killing them in the end, Croatia does advance in that second place spot. I mean, they definitely didn't look like their 2018 selves. Obviously, a couple guys have moved on, like
Many.
Handanovic.
I'm not sure, but
It's one of them.
Mandzukic wasn't there.
Sorry, yeah, it's Subasic.
And Mandzukic wasn't there. Unfortunate for them. Which I think they created a lot of opportunities that they didn't have a star striker to slot it in for them.
I feel like that's a big thing because a lot of people say, oh, their defense isn't that good. And they have Vida, Shima Versalco, and Lovren back
But
there.
they do have
That was-
Gavardio, who is very exciting.
But what I think is the main distinction to make is that was basically 3/4 of their same defense in the World Cup. So I didn't think that was a huge problem as much as it is not having that big guy that can finish those goals up front, whether you play through him as a target man or you try to make those runs into space. They don't really have a striker, similar to the Netherlands in some respects. I think that definitely hurt them, but obviously they'll get through here. They'll try to go as far as they can and make that lasting impact for the 4.5 or so million people in Croatia.
Big for him.
But,
I made a mistake.
I did not live up to expectations in Group E either. If I was Croatian and I was one of the elite predictors of the world, they would not be proud. Looking at my Group E, I got every single one wrong.
Same. I predicted Spain first. And you see, the problem with that is I forgot about the existence of Alvaro Morata. I don't understand why the Spanish head coach, what's his name?
Luis Enrique.
I do not understand why Luis Enrique consistently picks Alvaro Morata to start. Play Fernando Torres. Or Ferran Torres.
You don't
Play
make
him.
the mistake that ESPN hosted.
Start him. He's good. He'll score goals, and then put on Morata as a super sub. He might score goals. It's just unfortunate for them. They qualified, but they could have done better.
Yeah. I mean, obviously they did not get first in the group.
Yeah, they got second.
Sweden got first in the group.
Sweden got second
go.
because they have Alec Isaac, who is
Arguably a better fit than Ibrahimovic in that squad, in my opinion.
honestly,
Doesn't have the finishing experience.
I don't even know. I don't think he scored a goal this competition yet, but he
created
still did
so
good.
many chances against Spain when they drew at 0-0. They had Sweden with the better chances despite having less possession.
Yeah.
And my picks for that, I guess, getting back to where we're going with the general trend of our selections, I had Spain in first, Slovakia in second, because I mistakenly thought this is just tough for y'all football hipsters.
Y'all.
But yeah, this is what we say in the South. But people don't call Florida the South, but I've
Doesn't matter.
noticed I say that a lot. But I thought Luka Jovic was like Slovenian, and then I realized, oh wait, this is Slovakia, and then I realized, oh wait, he's Serbian. So then the only player Slovakia has is Milan Skriniar, which is like cool for them. But and Marek Hamsik, that's a throwback. So like, yeah, I mean, I didn't get that right, but I mean, good for them for at least doing something. Then Poland, that's a tough group for them because they got a lot of similar bouts against a Sweden team that's definitely better as a more complete team, like you said, about like some teams in the past. But like this Sweden team, I think, is definitely reminiscent of like a side that can play as a more complete outfit, kind of like a Denmark, among others. But
And Slovakia got third, but they couldn't qualify for round of 16.
Yeah, and I had fourth place for Sweden when they won the group. So I mean, I love it though because I'm rooting for them to go far. But
Yeah.
what was your order pretty much?
Mine was Spain, Sweden, Poland, Slovakia, and I wasn't super far off.
Yeah.
I just swapped the bottom two and the top, or the top two and the bottom two. So
yeah. So fitting to finish here with what happened, getting up to the round of 16 with our group stage predictions. The group of death.
Group of death.
Group H.
Now, starting out, I predicted France on top.
Yeah.
Did you?
Yeah.
Then I predicted Portugal. What did you predict?
Yep.
Then I predicted Germany and then Hungary.
Yeah, we got the same one.
So I just want to say, beginning off this, Hungary had a great competition. They played very well.
Absolutely.
Drawing against Germany. I think they scored a few goals against, was it Portugal? Or?
Yeah, I think they drew 2-2.
Yeah, no, they lost against Portugal, but they drew France.
Yeah, that's what.
And that was very big, drawing the world champions. I mean, they should be proud of their competition, but
I'd say what I loved most, Camilo, was them playing at the Puskás Arena in Budapest, and they had like 60,000 fans packed there, cheering on their side. I think that was one of the greater things to watch, and obviously the high odds against France is tremendous as well. But looking at the way this group finished, of course, with what we said about our orders, the only thing that flip-flopped was Germany in second, Portugal in third. Of course, Portugal is one of those third-place teams that will qualify.
And they, to be honest, I feel Germany and Portugal have had the same competition so far. They've they've finished very similar. I think the difference would be Portugal have not had that well of a defense, that good of a defense. But they've had better attacks. To be honest, through penalties mostly. Like, that's where I think they edge out on Germany. But Germany is just more consistent, I want to say.
One thing I want to say about Germany is I thought they were going to have another underwhelming tournament. Despite that victory that they got, I feel like they're still a team that doesn't have an identity. I feel like they're still very lost. And obviously, I think they'll have this complex similar to Mönchengladbach, rather, with Marco Rose that we mentioned in a previous episode about those domestic finishes. They know that their coach is leaving, so obviously you say you want to send them off with a last hurrah. But what does it do for you mentally, I guess, and what does it do for like what he's done? Because as far as his track record after winning that 2014 World Cup, it's been extremely lackluster going out in the group stages in the World Cup. So I didn't expect them to do well. Now that they're in round of 16, it's tough because we look at the bracket and they're basically Group H is slotted against itself. There's a top half that's extremely competitive and a lower half that's not competitive at all, I guess, but England does have an easy route if they do have the chance to go through. I mean, there's more on that later, but Camilo, just real quick before we get to that, the third place qualifiers, Portugal, Ukraine, Czech Republic, and Switzerland.
I predicted Wales, who actually qualified, but Ukraine, who did go through, Scotland, who I should have swapped for Czech Republic, and Germany, who I should have swapped for Portugal. So I think I got all the groups right. I got all the groups right. I'm 90% sure. I just didn't get the right teams in those groups.
Oh, yeah.
So that was unfortunate for me. But oh well.
But now, like we said, going into the round of 16, top half stacked. Bottom half, it's tough to see. I mean,
I'd say the bottom half has good teams. It's just they're playing against each other. Is the thing. For example, Czech Republic and Netherlands, they're playing against each other. Germany and England, they're playing against each other. So you're gonna have bigger rounds of 16s than you're gonna have quarterfinals.
Mm-hmm. So I guess looking at this, we will go from top to bottom from each round going through. Our first match is Belgium versus Portugal. What did you predict?
I actually predicted Belgium. I'm assuming you predicted Portugal?
I'm in agreement with you with Belgium because Portugal has had a lackluster tournament. And I don't think everything revolves around Ronaldo or Bruno Fernandes or one individual player. I think they have great capable players like Bernardo Silva and a couple of their Wolves guys as well. But they haven't shown up. Ronaldo's the leading goal scorer, but he is, by the names of his internet trolls, Ronaldo in this tournament, scoring, I want to say, 3 penalties and 2 tap-ins. So it's not convincing to me, and then Fernandes has been terrible away from the spotlight, not being that player that the game revolves around. I feel like he hasn't learned how to monitor not being that centerpiece.
I'd say once he does realize he's not the centerpiece, Ronaldo will have retired.
Yeah, and then he'll just be the centerpiece.
Yeah, but I'd also say Ronaldo hasn't had a good tournament, but he's not a bad player. We're not saying he's bad.
And it's hard to convert penalties, too.
Yeah.
So that's not a criticism. It's just, obviously, you do create chances off of penalties, but
it's different.
You need open play goals.
Yeah, it's not like open play is bigger.
Mm-hmm.
It's more important. But what do you predict for Italy versus Austria?
This one's easy for me because, like I said earlier in the episode, I predicted Italy to win it all. I saw a stat maybe like a few weeks ago, and it said ever since Mancini took over in 2018, I think he's gone like 20-something games unbeaten, pretty much. Basically, they haven't lost under his tenure, and they still haven't because they finished perfect in their group. And I'm convinced by this Italy squad. I think they're very underrated with their attack. Obviously, have always had a tremendous defense. Have one of the best young blossoming goalkeepers in Gigio Donnarumma, who's a snake for going to PSG in my opinion. But that's besides the point in international football. In their midfield, of course, their midfield 3. You think of Jorginho. Verratti, for me, is a very key piece of that squad when he's healthy. And then they obviously interchange some other guys that have come through as well. So, Austria.
And their striker.
Yeah.
From Lazio. What's his name?
Yeah, they have Ciro Immobile, and then they also have Insigne lining up from Napoli.
I like
And then they bring in like different guys on the left.
Insigne's. Yeah.
But Austria's like, you want to see them succeed, but they can't. They can't do it in my opinion against this Italy side.
They have Alaba. They have
Arnautovic.
That's him.
Before people forgot about him because he went to China.
They have. That's about it. That's the thing. They need smaller players to step up.
Mm-hmm.
Players with less reputation.
Yeah.
Because they have a talented squad. I just don't know who it is because they don't have a big reputation.
Mm-hmm.
And the Euros is a perfect opportunity for them to make a name for themselves.
Yeah.
Let's move on to France and Switzerland.
Yeah, it's a nice little rivalry between borders and stuff. But,
yeah, it's the border rivals. You're right.
Yeah, and France obviously world champions.
Oh, same with Italy and Austria. Sorry.
Yeah, yeah. I like it, or I like Switzerland. Not just as a place, but I do like their team. I've always think they like have the ability to go on a run, even this tournament too. But France is France.
Yeah.
They have who could quite possibly be the future Ballon d'Or winner in N'Golo Kante if he wins this tournament with France. I think there's no stopping them, at least in this round.
They have Pogba playing for France. Pogba playing for Man United versus Pogba playing for France is very different.
Oh, that is actually true.
Pogba fits into the French system, whereas Ole is not willing to tailor Man United for Pogba, which is I find interesting. Just as a quick side note, I find interesting as he bought.
Oh, keep talking about it.
He bought Bruno Fernandes, and he kind of has Man United play around Bruno Fernandes I think when you already have Pogba, you use Pogba um, instead of buying Bruno Fernandes. I mean, obviously it was a good
Yeah.
it was a good decision to buy him, but I think he could have saved money there.
I think one of the big things, um, looking at it, obviously, if you've listened to this podcast before, Jared Johnston here, I'm a massive Pogba hater. I don't think he's a bad player. I just don't think he's world class. But I'll tell you, when Camilo said, I think I sent that to him too. I was like, I sent that to our group that does our USL League Two Division Four United States men's soccer games. Um,
For Tampa Bay United.
yes. I was like, I've never seen Pogba defend like he does for France, for Manchester United. He was all over the pitch. Obviously, he's in a more central role sometimes. Like, Ole would just like put him wherever. But it's not even that. It's the passion he had to hunt down every ball and play for his teammates was unlike I have seen for United. And I just thought, like, I was like, wow, it's fantastic to see. I mean, I give him the credit when credit is due because it absolutely was due, and that's another key factor for France advancing. Croatia for Spain, on the other hand, I like a lot of the individuals Croatia has, but even with Spain's struggles, you have to see them putting this one through, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think Spain will go through on this one. A bit unfortunate if they don't, but I think Croatia's squad is just they're aging.
Yeah.
And they have younger players coming in, so I think it's becoming more difficult for the squad to mesh, because don't they have like a younger squad and an older squad who kind of butt heads a lot?
Like you look at some of their younger guys, Mateo Kovacic, Mario Pasalic, off the bench, and then their older squad that's been there for a while would be starters: Luka Modric, Lovren, Jimmy Vrsaljko, Perisic on the left side as well. So I think it's definitely something that's different, that's tough for them to mesh, but they finally eked out a result, but I don't think they can do it against the Spain side that, like you said, has struggled with Alvaro Morata, which I like him as a player, but he's not a finisher at that level. Like, I think he's still a quality player, but he has proven time and time again that he cannot be relied on to finish the chances that you get, whether it's a 1, 2, or 3 game.
Honestly,
you need to be guaranteed.
I'd like to see him play as like an attacking midfielder who doesn't, like a playmaker midfielder, attacking midfielder.
Or maybe you just don't play him as a sole striker. And I know it's a huge part of Spain's identity now, ever since Cruyff's Barcelona, with playing the 4-3-3.
Yeah.
But I feel like maybe you play 2 holding midfielders and have your attacking mid push up more or something. I don't know. But have a little bit more support, in my opinion, because it's nice to stretch the field with your wingers. But Morata is left alone there. Doesn't help him at all.
It doesn't work. But we're gonna see what Luis Enrique will do against France, and maybe or against Croatia. I'm sorry. Yeah. Maybe he can grind out a good result. Now, next is Sweden versus Ukraine.
Yeah, this is the bottom half of the table that we talked about being a little bit of the easier road, I guess, for some of the big teams. But Sweden-Ukraine?
I think Sweden's coming together and they're going to play better. They're playing better, and I think now this is going to be the start of not their golden generation, but of a good Sweden squad.
So not necessarily where they could be, but just even building towards it and continuing.
This is going to help build them up. And I think a win against Ukraine is very possible, and if they do that, that'll help their confidence, and that'll help them, well, I guess it'll propel them to be one of the bigger sides in Ecuador, in Europe. In Ecuador, in Europe.
In Gran Colombia.
So, that's big for them against Ukraine. I think they'll still make it through because they have some good players. Ukraine does as well. It's just they're not.
Yeah.
I just don't see Ukraine winning this one.
No, yeah, I agree. And I said earlier in the episode that I'm big on Ukraine. I like their players, but Sweden's the more complete outfit, and I do think they have the ability to go far in this tournament. Um, so I see them at least getting through to the quarterfinals, which with that, the draw against them with our consensus pick would be England versus Germany.
This is probably the biggest
Yeah.
game in the round of 16 right now.
For me, I feel like it's a level playing field because the way I looked at this bout is two teams that are still struggling with their identity.
Yeah.
And you see England obviously being overhyped by their own media, and Germany,
as they always are.
Yeah, in Germany, rightly so, confused with their own identity, not necessarily having those outside pressures. They just had some struggles, past success, and I feel like with Lowe leaving, it's kind of tough for them to kind of figure out their mojo when they know their coach is gone and Hansi Flick is going to come in. But
it's exciting though.
It's exciting for German football because obviously they're a powerhouse and they have some great young players coming in. But with their lineup that they have now and what they've done, to me, it hasn't been convincing at all. One result isn't good. And granted, England on the other side, in my opinion, didn't have any good results in the group stages despite winning their group.
2 goals, both scored by
none other than
Raheem Sterling, who we don't like. So, But I don't see England. They don't have a good striker. They don't. I'm just going to tell the podcast this. I hate Harry Kane for England. I despise the man. Harry Kane for Spurs, love him.
You're like that Drake meme?
Nah. Harry Kane playing for England? Nah. Harry Kane playing for Spurs?
I'll make that the thumbnail for our socials. It's going to be great.
But that's the thing. Like, so I don't even England, like right now, Kane hasn't been playing very well. He's been trying to drop deeper to have England adapt to his role in Spurs, his new role in Spurs, which I don't.
Yeah, you're right.
They're not meshing very well because you have Mason Mount or Phil Foden in that attacking midfield area, who is also kind of doing the same role. Which for Spurs, you don't really have an attacking midfield who will do that. And Ndombele won't really push like that. So I think it would be better if Kane kind of tried to be more of a target man than like a deep line forward.
Which is something he's done before, but you saw that his best numbers were under Jose, despite the team's and collective struggles. Him being kind of that all-around dynamic player, but it's kind of weird because the way I phrased it is two teams that I'm not confident in at all, but you would think England is the lesser of the two. Maybe for you it is, but I have England taking it against Germany because when I saw some of their performances, most notably their first game, I want to say against France, did they draw?
I think so. We're going to go with a yeah for right now.
That was the most unconvincing game I've ever seen, the most dead, backwards game. England had a game like that too against Scotland, but there was no life for me in that Germany side. And you think of the days of Mario Gomez playing as that key striker, and I think it's a similar predicament that Spain has when you look at the Germany side. But even more so, I think it's just a whole collective issue of transitioning between different generations of players. And despite thinking that England will not win this tournament, as you'll see in my future predictions, I do think they get past Germany in this round.
I don't. I'll be honest. They haven't been playing Werner, which is smart.
Yeah.
They have They have Thomas Müller. They have Kai Havertz, who's been playing fairly well. He's scored 2 goals already.
Yeah.
And they have Serge Gnabry. Serge Gnabry is class, I think. Serge Gnabry.
That's coming from a Spurs fan.
Yeah, it's coming from a Spurs fan.
About an Arsenal product.
There you go. Serge Gnabry is wonderful. I think he could have been a Sunderland product. He'd still be wonderful. So I think they have like a very strong front three with Sane as well. I didn't even mention him.
Yeah, he's coming off the bench for some games too, but he's fantastic.
He's been swapping with Muller as well. He swapped with Muller for this last game against Hungary, and Gosens has played very well. And then you have Kimmich, who's exciting. Gundion, who I think this is his last tournament for Germany. I've heard.
Yeah.
But Gundion and Kroos in the midfield were two world-class players. I think maybe their roles are a little too similar. Well, not similar. They just, I won't say they have egos, but they're two like world-class midfielders.
I think it's fair to say that Kimmich is world-class too. The fact that he's played right back, he's playing anywhere in the midfield, and when Kroos retires from the team, he's basically going to be in that spot, and if not, be better in that spot, depending on how Hansi Flick plays.
But I still see like Gundion and Kroos probably don't have that good of a connection in the midfield, which will harm Germany in the long run. But I think that game against Hungary was just they were complacent, and they let them counter. They let Hungary counterattack, which was the problem. They have a good defense. They have Manuel Neuer. So, I mean, it was just unfortunate, I think.
Yeah, I mean, Carlo Manuel Neuer starting up as the one spot. He's been fantastic. Obviously, they have Ter Stegen and even more depth on the bench in other positions. But, again, like you mentioned, Gosens, who won player of the game in that game where he got a bunch of assists, and I believe they're routing over Hungary. Pains me to say that because I love Robin Gosens, one of my favorite players on Atalanta as well. Of course, everyone is pretty much, but he's been really dynamic, starting on Germany, one of the world powerhouses. But I still have England taking it. He has Germany taking it. Split on that. Maybe we'll be split on this one too, Camilo. It's Netherlands versus Czech Republic.
Ooh.
Who do you have?
Tell me who you have first.
Czech Republic going through.
I have Netherlands. I want Czech Republic to go through, but I still think Netherlands have very good strikers with Depay, and they have just all around. They don't have as much depth due to injuries. And what's the other? That Ajax product who's not playing. Not Van de Beek, the other. Not Van de Beek, the other. Oh no, he just missed the Ukraine game. I'm sorry. But I still see this Netherlands squad as like I'm more confident in them than I am in the Czech Republic. Not the Czech Republic's team is bad. I just think it's down to quality, and I see Netherlands as having more quality.
Now let me offer this as a rebuttal, because I don't dispute the Netherlands' individual talent. But a lot of the things we've said about teams that we think won't succeed is that they don't have a natural striker. And that's one of the things I want to highlight, of course, with Memphis Depay playing as that 10. I don't like the look because then they're playing, of course, when I talk about a Cruyff in Barcelona 4-3-3 for Spain, Cruyff, the Dutch player, helping author that formation. They have some really nice wingers, though. You think Quincy Promes has been fantastic for that Dutch side. But I think they've looked shambolic, the fact that they had to squeeze out results in one of the easiest groups in this tournament. I think their first or second game, they had a draw where they're basically clawing their way back. And watching that game, I'm not convinced at all by the Netherlands. And so what does that say for Czech Republic, on the other hand? I think they're a team that can stay compact. I think they're a team that can invite pressure. And then try to create chances with Patrick Schick, who's obviously the sole striker. Bless you.
Thank you. Anyone who said bless you, thank you.
Yeah. Who will play as the target man. So he has that physical body. He's able to hold the ball up. And obviously my big guy is, of course, Thomas Souček in the midfield. He's going to work wonders around that midfield. But the thing is, people have been raving about Jorginho Wijnaldum and De Jong in the Dutch midfield as being some of the best players in the tournament, but I'm not convinced at all by the team on the collective.
I believe in
I think,
Wijnaldum.
yeah, and I think they've just underwhelmed severely, in my opinion. They needed to have a much, much better turnout. And lastly, to quote one of your favorite managers of all time, Frank de Boer, one of the worst managers in Premier League history. Worst record ever. 0 wins, 0 draws, 7 losses. Worst in history.
Jose.
And now you expect him to coach that Dutch national team.
Jose.
And I
He's already dead.
I expect that exact same outcome for Czech Republic pulling through. Camilo the opposite with Netherlands in the end, getting to the basically the quarterfinals. But nice to move on now to our last match in the round of 16. This is a fun one as well. Wales versus Denmark.
Ooh, I got Wales.
And I have Denmark.
Oh.
I don't disagree with your pick, though. I think it could go either way. But just real quick, looking at Denmark, again, I think they're a really good, disciplined, collective side. And I don't think Paulsen really gets the job done, and some of their strikers, I don't think they're really that strong, but I do think they have a really strong framework around Kasper Schmeichel, their defense with Champions League winner Christensen, among others. Their midfield with Thomas Delaney, P-E-H, Pierre-Emile Højbjerg. I think they can pull that through, try to isolate Bale on that far side, and Ramsey, obviously a catalyst in the midfield. I do think they have more talents, despite maybe not being as rambunctious and as popular as Gareth Bale. And that doesn't discredit the fact that Wales have guys like Ethan Ampadu obviously stepping up as well. But I think Denmark could definitely grind out a result here.
Wales, Gareth Bale isn't, and he isn't 2018. He isn't 2016 Gareth Bale.
He isn't bicycle kick winning the Champions League Gareth Bale.
So it'll be very hard, but I think Wales will still edge out on top of Denmark in a very hard-fought game. So I see this as a Welsh victory. We forgot to put in the scores, or predictions for scores.
Oh.
Yeah, so.
I guess we don't have to be honest.
Yeah, it's too late now.
We'll just do that for the final. We'll probably have, as a teaser for our next episodes in the future, we're going to get into Copa America stuff like we said, among other things, and potentially a live Euro final of the 2021 Euros.
Maybe.
But we're working on that, obviously. Maybe even some live views of a preseason tournament where Inter Milan, Everton, or Arsenal could be playing. Maybe even Millonarios. But back to the matter at hand. Basically got through it all in the round of 16, and that leaves us with 8 teams predicted.
We have different teams, though, so...
But I think for the first round, I think we got pretty much equal. Belgium versus Italy.
Yeah.
For who we got in, but for me, I'm picking Italy to win this one.
I want Belgium to win, but I'm seeing Italy win this.
I don't doubt Belgium at all either. I love Yuri Tielemans on that side. Obviously, big fan of him on the show here.
Does Castagne play?
Castagna is also playing on the outside.
Castagna. Yeah.
But so they have a lot of nice young guys complementing that golden generation that's obviously fading away at some point. But I'm convinced by this Italy squad. I've said that they're going to be champions, and I guess that's a teaser to my final prediction.
Yeah.
But I'm fully on board for them winning out this tournament, so I have them going through.
I see them going through. As the players we touched on before for Italy, they have class, and I see that class shining through in the round or in the quarterfinals against a very hard-fighting Belgian team.
Yeah. So next, I have France and Spain.
Me too. I have France and Spain.
So we're pretty much almost like here at the top half of the bracket. Bottom half probably going to change a little bit. But France and Spain, this is easy. France goes through.
Yeah. Spain just don't have that confidence, as we talked about before. They don't have that identity either. So they have this identity they're trying to stick with, but they don't have these players who fit into this identity. And that's the biggest problem. Luis Enrique is kind of trying to force this.
That's articulated perfectly, Camille. The fact that they're so hell bent on trying to stick to a 4-3-3 when I think it would really suit them to try something different, to play around the players, not force them into the system. It's like
Yeah.
when you say, like, try and I believe I've said this in prior episodes for lack of a better term, trying to grind something into a hole that's too small.
Mm-hmm.
It just doesn't work.
I think for club football, it works a lot easier because you can sign and sell players to fit into your system, or you can build a system around the players you already have.
Yeah.
Whereas with international managing, you kind of already have to build a system already over the players that you have.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe you can swap in some good players for players who are pretty good who fit into your system, but I don't think Spain have like the depth for that.
Yeah, and then moving on to our bottom half, we both had Sweden.
Yeah.
You had Germany? I think?
Yeah, I have Germany, you have England.
I had Sweden versus England, so I guess for the sake of branching off to my own bracket here, I have Sweden beating England, advancing to the semifinals. Alexander Isak's gonna do bits.
I was in a locker room call. There's an app called Locker Room where people talk about sports with some people, and there was a random guy who was predicting Sweden to get into the semifinals.
No way, that's what I have.
Which was, hey, no, I see Germany pulling through. I think Germany will get the confidence after that round of 16 game against England, who are like on the same par as them, and I think they'll smash Sweden.
I'd say if I still had Germany, if they had another great performance with Gosens carrying, I love Gosens, then yeah, I guess they could beat Sweden, but I'd still honestly pick Sweden as my sleeper pick and to beat Germany. But in my scenario, of course, I have England edging out two teams in transition phases. And then England, I think, in general, is just a subpar team. Harry Maguire starting on defense is the biggest crime known to man here.
When you have Tyrone Mings.
Tyrone Mings, a natural left-sided center back, could slot in with John Stones. Much more mobile, has the size. The only reason Harry Maguire is there because he's a price tag merchant. You guys know our opinions on Harry Maguire.
Your opinion, Manly?
Yeah, mainly mine. Regurgitated on this show, but I think it just plays into more how overrated England is in their own media.
How many other center backs did they call up? Just the three?
I want to say they have one more. Oh, Ben
White.
Yeah.
I would
go to Arsenal for $50 million for Brighton, which is massively.
He is? Is that confirmed?
Not confirmed, but it's probable to happen.
I'm upset because I liked Ben White.
I think $50 million is too much to pay for him, though. So I would be okay with not paying for him.
I think if Brighton want to stay up, they should keep Ben White. Yeah, I don't. If it were England versus Sweden, I could still maybe see England pull through, but most likely Sweden because England do have quality.
Yeah.
Gareth Southgate just doesn't know where to use it.
I mean, yeah, people look at his 2018 run and think he also had the easy path. So, I mean, what happens in this one?
He didn't have an easy path. I think he just lucked out because Colombia deserved the win.
Yeah, people consider Colombia easy, but obviously we have a Colombian national team fan. So
now they're easy.
Yeah.
But before.
So we don't discredit their talent in 2014 or 2018 rather.
Yeah.
But
it's still I still see. If it's against England, then I see Sweden winning. If it's against Germany, I see Germany winning.
Yeah, but going further now, Czech Republic versus Denmark.
Mine is the opposite: Netherlands versus Wales.
Oh, so I'll let you go first then. What you have of that?
I see Netherlands going through. Wales just. I don't see them going to the semis.
If I had Wales against Netherlands, I would pick Wales, not just because they got there in 2016. It would be such a storybook thing. But I think they'd be capable to upset the Netherlands. I'm not big on the Dutch side. I picked them as a sleep. Did I have the Netherlands? Yeah, I had Czech Republic over Netherlands. So, obviously, if they do get a win, which is probable, to be honest, despite my sleeper pick, um, I do think that you look at that other side that could definitely route them to victory would be Wales to pull off the upset.
Mm-hmm.
But for me, it was Czech Republic versus Denmark, the opposite draw. And as much as I want to pick Patrick Schick and Czech Republic to continue going through, which would be a miracle, Denmark I think is realistic and to get there. So it lines up a semifinal for me where Sweden and Denmark play each other in the semifinal, which is like, it's kind of unthinkable and it probably wouldn't happen, but we were talking about this bottom half of the group. And when you look at the advanced sides that have advanced, really, or getting results, if I didn't pick teams for losses, one of England and Germany is going to get knocked out.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's the Netherlands. So, realistically, it's two teams that are kind of struggling to find consistent results in Germany and England. Despite what you see on paper for England, they are not getting good results. In the Netherlands, who is also coached under the worst coach in Premier League history in Frank de Boer, and not really convincing in my book. So even if you had that, I'd have at least one of those teams going through. So in my opinion, it does make it realistic that those teams get through because they don't have to play through those teams. So I do have a Sweden-Denmark semifinal. But now moving back to our entire draw here.
Wait, so who do you have for you had Sweden beat, or you had Denmark beat Czech Republic? Yeah. Okay.
And I had Sweden beat England. But for the semifinals at the top of your group, or top of your table rather, you have, I assume,
Semifinal. I thought you said quarterfinals.
No, yeah.
I have Italy versus France. Who do you have?
Italy versus France as well, and
okay.
France, you could go either way, in my opinion.
Yeah.
But like I said, I've picked Italy again.
And the guy who does on TikTok is actually from Cavilen. He's from Italy. But I see this France. I see this as a France one.
I couldn't deny it either. I mean, I think both of them would be really good picks either way.
Yeah.
It just so happens that I'm on the Italian boat to go for victory.
I'm not a big fan of France, but I see them winning.
Yeah, but obviously, they're definitely probably the favorite in this match, even with Italy's success so far. But split on that one. But obviously, now we'll go back to the bottom half of the bracket where we're basically completely different. So
I have
depends
Germany
on our situation.
Germany versus Netherlands. You have Sweden
versus Denmark, which is also great because when you look at the scoreboard on television, it'll be
Sweden,
or it could be Denmark.
Oh my goodness!
Unless they choose to be stubborn and switch it up, but I think they do Sweden, so that'll be cool.
And we have 9% on your computer.
Yeah, around 5%. I'll go get a battery or something.
All right.
Like that.
So, also Russia has that with like Belarus, I think, or another team where either way it'll be either country's name.
Yeah.
So I see. Actually, let's start with you. Who do you see winning this?
So Denmark Sweden and Denmark. I like Sweden because they have more of an ability to score with Isak up top, Emil Forsberg, one of those veterans that's kind of playing in behind in a less advanced role. So it's crazy to say, but I have Sweden advancing to the final of the Euro 2021 because they don't have to play through any big teams. And I think looking at their group, after winning their group, I think they have the ability to create chances. Obviously, Alexander Isak wasn't the best finisher, but that just goes to show if they were able to put up 7 points, imagine what they could do if they get all of their chances. So that puts them through against a Denmark side that's basically berated without and rattled without Christian Eriksen. I mean, they've valiant effort to get as far as they could.
I'd see
And it
that
would also
as,
be a great derby, but I think it's realistic in my situation that Sweden does get to the final.
yeah. In your situation, I could see Sweden going to the final. Germany versus Netherlands. I still see Germany going through because, as you said before, Netherlands are going to have issues with their attacking
Yeah.
as well as their manager. He was the worst manager in Premier League history, even though he didn't manage a super good team. I don't know who he managed. Probably not a super good team.
I don't know, but
I think it was Fulham. But
by the looks of his record, it must have been work for Roman Abramovich because he got sacked after 7 games.
But I see Germany going through because at this point they have their confidence back. Maybe they've found some of their identity now.
Yeah.
And even though they're playing with the same manager, they're going to go to the final. I think they're going to go for glory and try to help their manager.
I think it's definitely a fair assessment for sure. With the way you have it, just as you said with mine, which is more mine, of course, more peculiar. But now we go to our finals, and mine's Italy versus Sweden, which would be unfortunate for UEFA because they probably wouldn't want a final with such a lopsided event because it kind of breaks away the suspense because obviously, as I stated, I want Italy to win, and I think Sweden can get far as my pick, but they won't get through Italy. In my opinion, Italy is the best team in this tournament still. I hold that true to my heart. Hopefully I don't jinx it, but make easy work of Sweden just because they have the individual talent and skill to combine a team together, have a great team chemistry, whereas Sweden has that team chemistry, but they just don't have as much power as Italy does. So I have Italy winning the Euros.
Yeah, I would.
Against Sweden in the finals.
Italy would beat Sweden in that scenario.
And then for you is?
I want to check the table really quickly because I have the last world champions, France, go up against the world champions before them in Germany. And the two teams who topped the Group F table, I have it France versus Germany. I'd see France winning this one off of a hard-fought game. And you could also see this in the first game of Group F, that France just seemed to be more confident, seemed to have more quality than Germany. So yeah, I see this as a France win. But I mean, they have more talent. They have Pogba playing for France, who's insane. They have N'Golo Kante. So you see, and they have such a good dynamic together as well, their entire team. Benzema recently had his first goal after coming back to the France squad. Hugo Lloris is not as good as he used to be, for example, in the last World Cup, but he's still very good. So I still see this as a France win. But Germany does have a good shot in there. That's what I'm going to say about Germany. Germany does have a good shot if they make the final against France.
So with that, your final, Germany against France, and I
France
agree that they
wins.
have a good shot because they have a lot of creative players. For me, the complex with them was I don't think they've been able to find an identity, but even if they do, if you have France routing it against Italy, I do think France is the favorite to win just because obviously they've proven it in the World Cup and they've been able to continue to work wonders with their side. Just have a really nice tight-knit group, which is weird to see their look under Deschamps because you think of an all-out attacking side like PSG and then you put Mbappe into a lineup where you play a lot more of a reserved game, a lot more of a two-way game, whether it was a 4-4-2 or sometimes a 4-4-1-1 in different situations. So it's a really simple way to play for that French side, but they've been really effective, and I think that team emphasis has been basically able to rejuvenate that side with all of the individual talent that they have.
The thing I like about Deschamps,
mm-hmm.
is that he's able to adapt to different situations, which a lot of international managers cannot.
Mm-hmm.
So I think this is something that is exciting for France, and I think this is something that they're going to take advantage of in the Euros with such a good squad, with such an adaptable manager.
I mean, the fact that alone that you bring in Benzema is not just a team issue, but like a literal social issue in your locker room. You bring back a guy that was suspended for 4 years, put him back into the lineup after he calls your old starting World Cup winning striker a go-kart. So, I mean, that's another thing to navigate, but they've been able to work through it in different ways. Use Giroud for different ideas, use Benzema for different ideas, fresh from the get-go when he's starting. Giroud's obviously been effective as a sub, playing his role as well. So I definitely like that adaptability. That's obviously huge in the European game when you really, a lot of it's just one and done knockout games. So you have to find a solution right away. But with that, that pretty much accounts our Euros. I have Italy winning it all.
I have France winning it all.
And we had anything else to talk about on the international stage at all?
Oh, Nations League.
Yeah, I guess that deserves a quick shout. It also is under the UEFA umbrella. Like I said before, the UEFA.
FIFA. Oh, FIFA? No, I'm talking about the CONCACAF Nations.
Oh, okay, CONCACAF. Yeah, we're going to give a U.S. men's national team a quick shout with it. But yeah, going to other competitions such as Copa America, Gold Cup, among others, we'll get to in the next episode. We're going to wait for a couple, like the brackets to release with that. So obviously our Euros talk ends. A little bit of a new talk begins. We'll touch on it quickly here. U.S. men's national team getting the job done. I believe this is their first major tournament trophy in history.
No.
It has to be. I mean,
no,
even though it's not major.
Cup. They won the Gold Cup.
Yeah,
this
Gold
is
Cup
major,
counts.
yeah.
Gold Cup counts, I guess.
The Gold Cup's bigger than the Nations League. I'd say, except for this season.
It's just North America.
It's just the North American Euros.
But isn't the Nations League also just North America?
Yeah, the Nations League is the North American Nations League because the Nations League is also in Europe.
Oh.
They have a European Nations League. They have a.
So will
North
be
American
the U.S.
Nations
plays the Nations League winner and.
No. It's just like the Nations League. They're just two separate competitions, but they're the same format.
Sounds like the most useless thing ever.
Yeah, I think they just want it to be more competitive for international teams.
To me, it's weird though because then the Gold Cup is the same, I guess. But without further ado, let's move on to the subject of interest, despite my misunderstanding of what the Nations League actually is.
The United
States won.
Yeah.
I don't think it was at all convincing, in my opinion, when we watched it. That was a tough watch.
Yeah. But I was happy with the end result.
Sure.
Yeah.
But that gave me no confidence in Gregg Berhalter as a head coach for the United States national team. When you have to make changes to try to give a little bit of a spark to your squad, and you put Tim Weah at essentially a left back / left mid role, when he's a striker, makes absolutely no sense to me. He had another questionable move that I can't recall, but that was one of the main ones I remember.
He played Leggett.
Yes, anyone that's in the MLS. Sorry, MLS people.
Well, except for I forgot his name. He's a younger player. He did all right. I think he was a wing back. I don't remember.
Oh,
he was all right.
Yeah, it was fine.
He was the only, but
we accept very few MLS players.
Like Leggett and the other MLS player?
Jackson Ewell, the next Michael Bradley. Get him out of here. Get him out.
They aren't.
Get away.
I guess maybe you could say you need experience, but...
No. He's 24 years old playing in the worst team in the league, San Jose Earthquakes. Get it out. Kick it out. Kick it out.
Oh, the other guy was from Colorado Rapids.
Oh, I forgot his name, though.
Yeah, he did all right. So... that was pretty good for that was a good that we won, but and I think the referee made good calls with both the penalties, and you also saw Gio Reyna score a very nice goal, and Jesus Corona's goal. I think almost shattered the U.S. confidence, but I think the players were resilient enough to keep playing that super hard, which got them the result.
I think the biggest, yeah, obviously it's good to grind out results because, like, to say a team has to learn how to win, right? Even if they're the worst team in a game, you're the better team with the score line in the end. Nothing else matters. But the biggest surprise for me was Diego Lainez from Mexico. Reese Kaplan, noted guest of the show and fellow USL League Two commentator, said he's basically like Messi out there in that Messi-esque role for Mexico, and I absolutely agreed with him at 20 years old playing in La Liga for Real Betis. So I feel like if you're Mexico, you're disappointed because you think you were the better team. I agree that they were the better team in the game, but they weren't clinical enough in the end. Obviously, Guardado missed the penalty with Ethan Horvath coming on, but yeah, I mean, the main problem, I guess, was Gregg Berhalter's lack of tactical knowledge because he tried to be flexible and make changes, and they didn't do anything. It was almost just on a whim.
He's had this problem before.
Yeah, and then he didn't have a great striker. Again, Daryl Dike wasn't in the lineup, of course, because he was playing with Barnsley. But Josh Sargent had sucked for every single game we watched, and definitely thought Ciabachi should have at least gotten an out after that semifinal thing. Same thing when you look at Spurs in the Champions League final, when Spurs was
Lucas Moura, yeah.
Yeah, Lucas Moura and Harry Kane. Not that Josh Sargent's an injured player, but he basically was ineffective. But Daryl Dike coming back in other international competitions is nice to see, and I definitely think that does solve their problem as getting a striker that's big enough to play as a target man, but has that speed to get in behind, proving it at UVA, proving it with Barnsley, proving it with Orlando City. He's basically the next Josie Altidore for this United squad. Yeah. And he's going to be even better. So, I mean,
hopefully,
the future is bright for this squad, but plenty of mistakes I think they committed. I think they definitely could have done much better.
Mm-hmm.
So
the players weren't super convincing, but they were.
I'd say the fact, though, is that if it's disappointing that you do win against Mexico, I mean, it is a positive to say what else can they do from here.
Yeah.
But
you're right, yeah.
The negative aspect is that Berhalter is the man in charge to do so.
I think you even saw that when he was managing the second tier of Sweden. I heard he got sacked because he didn't play attacking-minded football.
Mm-hmm.
As well as, and that season after he left, after he got sacked, the season after, that team got promoted to the first tier of Swedish football. And then with Columbus Crew, he's managing, and the next season, the team wins the Supporter Shield, I think, or do they win the MLS? I forgot which one, but
I haven't kept up with it. I think they won the playoff one.
Yeah, so they won the MLS itself, which is, it's kind of a testament to how like he can pick good players, he can get good players. He just doesn't play them where they should be playing. He doesn't, and his tactics just aren't fluid enough, or he's adaptable, but his adaptations aren't very smart. They aren't very effective.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's his problem as a manager.
Yeah, I honestly don't see him doing much going forward, in my opinion. I think it's very, what you said about him in Sweden not playing attacking football. There are good defensive coaches, such as Mourinho, that still has a counterattack. Obviously, that only works with specific players, as we've seen at Spurs, as far as defensive-wise. But when you think of more attacking-minded coaches or balanced coaches that say that you should play a normal game or a traditional sense of football, is that you shouldn't play not to lose. You should play to win. And honestly, I guess that kind of applies to Berhalter's U.S. squad because it didn't even look like they were playing for either. It didn't even look like they were playing at all against Mexico. It was soulless, in my opinion. But they were, of course, having to try to play to not lose against Mexico when they got the penalty, when they were down They basically only got a few chances to be able to capitalize on. But that goes back to the other point of that point, which is, of course, you should be playing attacking-wise to play to win. When you have all these young American talents that are going to be speedy on the flanks, be able to dictate play if you allow them and give them the confidence to do so, which is, I think, something that they need to employ, hopefully sooner rather than later, considering they will need to do that for the World Cup. I think that's something that's huge going forward, is establish that Berhalter is in or is out. With a lot of fans, they don't think he'll get the job done. Should they waste a World Cup in doing so? In my opinion, no, but it's tough to pull the trigger on sacking him if he's won a major trophy.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that wraps it up, right?
Yeah, that pretty much wraps everything up we got here for episode 6 in season 1 of the Goal Hour. Thank you so much for tuning in to this one. It was a great European special, probably one of the most interesting ones we've had, because it's that time of year. It only comes around really every 2 years if you count World Cup and Euros interchanging as some of the major competitions. And yeah, I mean, we had our predictions somewhat different as we got towards the tail end, which is exciting as we try to navigate our way through it. We'll obviously have more episodes talking about those results and I guess more previews, seeing how our predictions went. Had a little bit of U.S. national team talk as well, and we'll get into what they have done and what the rest of the Americas have been able to do with a new episode coming in the coming days once we get some of the draws and some of the results that we'll be able to see. So obviously we'll become more well-rounded with world football with all of the international draws. Obviously this was just a Euro special. But stay tuned to our socials to see highlights, where to access this if you're watching on video or any of your streaming platforms for podcasting. Check our socials again, like I said, for updates on that future episode, among others. We'll be tuned to international football until it ends, pretty much. That's when season 1 will be over. But with the Goal Hour, it's Jared Johnston and Camilo Yepes. Thank you so much for tuning in.
Ciao.